Okay, well, alright. So, it's a new video, and I know the last one, if you watched it, we all need a good news, maybe? And, well, good news, that's what this video is. Um, Full disclosure, I record these in a batch and then time them. So, as I'm recording this, I am editing everything. So there's a possibility I cannot in real time respond to anything posted about the last video because I just haven't seen it. So maybe I'll have to edit some stuff in. So if you see like this weird cut, that's what it is. But if not, like I said, this one is a good news video. It's a kind of a fun one. Maybe I'll even get a little musical in it. So we'll see. But I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're ready for a little bit more of a journey. We are almost done with having to trek through high school. So, join me, will you? When I win your heart, I'm gonna paint it cherry red. When I woke up the next morning, March 23rd, I felt like hell. My body looked like it too, and as I swung my legs over the side of my bed and stood up, I felt everything, and it sucked. I put on a shirt and walked out into the hall, grabbing a towel, and walked into the bathroom. I turned on the light, and that's when I noticed how absolutely shitty I looked. Worse than normal, I laughed to myself. Slashes and cuts were all over my body, on my chest and my arms, my legs. The one about my eye was slightly hidden, but there was dried blood I'd have to deal with. I turned the shower off, or I turned the shower on, taking off any bandages, and I put them in a pile with my dry clothes. I showered, trying not to reopen any cuts, with mild success. Getting out, I threw my clothes back on, wrapped the towel around my shoulders, and walked into my room. I put on a pair of jeans for work, wrapped my wrist, and covered it with a longer sleeve t-shirt to wear under my Fry's shirt, and I sat down at my computer. I put a small band-aid on my eyebrow where the cut was, and I rewound the mixtape a little bit, listening to songs I'd collected. The final song I ended up listening to was a song I recorded the night before, and I played it through a couple of times. I found my knife still sitting on my desk, and took time to clean it. I put it in the top left drawer of my desk, shook the Jiminy Cricket snow globe I still kept in its spot for luck, grabbed my Fry's shirt, and threw it on. I brought down my garbage bag from my room, tucked it under my armpit as I grabbed something quick to eat, along with my wallet and keys. I grabbed my little portable radio and headphones, said goodbye to my folks and Sarah, and headed out the door. I grabbed my bike, put the headphones on, turned on some music, and headed to work, throwing the garbage in a dumpster by the side of Fry's when I got there. I locked my bike in the bike rack, walked in early, and waved at Xandar, who had arrived just as I did. "Good morning, bro," I said. "Hey," he returned in his low voice, and he noticed some of the cuts. "Rough night," I said, "but I'm fine." "You will tell me later," he said, and it wasn't a question. "I will tell you and Putman," I responded. We went through our day, bagging groceries and collecting carts. We said hi to Gabby as she came in, and to open the little customer childcare that they would use try that one again. We said hi to Gabby as she came in to open the little customer childcare that they could use while shopping, and we traded laughs with our cashier friends as we worked. Saturdays were notorious for being busy in the morning, so we were there and working in tandem much of the morning. As things do during lulls and customers, we talked about wargaming and school, and it was here that Xandar broke some news. "I asked Meredith to prom," he said. "Zan, brother, that is great," I responded. I'm guessing she said yes?" "Affirmative," he nodded. That's awesome news, really," I said. What are your plans? He asked. What? What are your plans for prom? He repeated. After the last 48 hours I'd had, prom had been the last thing on my mind. But now, with Xandar asking, now I had to think about it. And there was a bit of silence, and I shrugged. I don't have any, I responded. I'm not dating anyone. There's hardly any prospects. And if you ask me who I think would go with me, I'd come up somewhere between what, Jack and shit. Zan shook his head. Don't count it out. I think it'd be horrible if you missed it. We helped another customer, but the topic still lingered there. When did you ask her? I asked. This week. I was surprised she said yes. Why? I inquired. The two of you get along very well. You're cute together. It'll be fun. I do not disagree with any of that, he responded. But it's always stressful to ask, I countered. Yeah, I get that. I know things have been weird, Zan said, but I really hope you do come. I also think you'll find a date. Zan, I don't know who'd go. There's no one really... I stopped mid-sentence because it hit me. All of a sudden, I had an idea, and Xandar could see it. Whatever your plan is, I'm in, he said. Could you cover me for like 5 minutes, I asked. I have to make a phone call. Go, take your time, Zan responded, and I nodded. I turned from the register and began walking back to the break room, and my brain was firing. It was a mix of two things. The first was the song from the night before. I could remember part of it as I walked through the front of the store toward the pharmacy, and our break room was right next to it. The second thing was I could remember what the voice had told me last night. That I wasn't done. That I still had something to do. And then I could hear the song again in my brain get louder as I walked. I won't say where, and I don't know when, but soon there's gonna come a day, baby. I'll be back again. Yeah, I'll be back for you. You see, I'm saving up my love. I walked into the break room where we had a payphone, and I took the phone off the handle, pulling out my wallet. I always kept a list of numbers in my wallet in case I ever needed to get a hold of people, and they were the most important people in my life. I put a couple of quarters into the payphone, punched the numbers on the dial pad. I felt a lump in my throat. I did have something left to do. One promise I'd made that I hadn't made good yet. The phone rang. And rang. And rang. And then someone picked up. Hello? The voice on the other end was instantly recognizable, and I smiled. Adrian? Matt, is everything okay? Adrian asked, and I let out a breath. Yeah, but there's something I have to talk to you about. Okay, she said, trailing off. Listen, if you could come back out here, would you do it? I don't think we can afford it, she said. Okay, if that wasn't a problem, would you come out here? Yeah, but I just don't see it happening. I could hear her being skeptical. Okay, listen. I want to know if you'd want to come out here, I asked again and leaned against the wall. Of course I would, she responded. Adrian, I'm gonna bring you out here. I'm working right now, and I can't stay on too long, but I'll call you later with more details because I'm serious, I said. There's a catch, though. What is it? She asked. I paused. Will you be my date to senior prom? There was silence for about a second. "Of course I would go to prom with you," she said. A soft voice. But I thought I heard a smile in it. "Okay then, I'll call you later when I get off work, I promise." "You better," she said with a laugh. "I gotta get back to work. Love you, go." I hung up the phone and went back to work. I was beaming, and as I walked up to him, Zan arched an eyebrow. "Plan?" he asked. "I'm gonna get Adrian back here for senior prom," I said, "but we're not gonna let anyone know we're doing it." Xandar grinned. "Oh yeah, brother, I'm in." As we worked, Zan and I began to talk out the details of what my nerdy-ass brain believed to be the coolest undercover operation I could ever think of. I was going to do everything I needed to get her back for some quality time with friends Adrian hadn't seen in 2 years. I explained to Xandar the idea of doing it at prom was just to maximize the impact. Everyone would be there and be looking forward to it, so that was the goal. We talked about plane tickets and prom tickets and dinner. It was going to be expensive, and so, that shift, I walked up to one of the managers and offered to work more hours. I asked to change my schedule, work more hours, pick up extra days. I had some money saved up already, but I would talk to my parents, and anything in terms of upcoming birthday ideas could be replaced with cash for this nerdy mission. A senior gift to my friends, Adrian included. I wanted to do something for everyone, so they knew I loved them. When I got off work, I called Adrian again, and I told her my plan. There was a bit of shock and surprise, but I asked again if she'd be willing to come. "You don't have to be my date to prom. I'll still get you out here," I told her. "Matt, I would love to go to prom with you," she said. "Oh my God, you're really going to try and do this." I smiled. I had promised Adrian I would try and rescue her from Zombieland, and that was exactly what I was going to do. Or die trying. "Just get permission," I said. "I already did," she responded. That night, when I went to bed, I didn't cut myself. And in the end, on dreams we will depend, because that's what love is made of. Going into the next week, I was mentally and emotionally not quite out of the woods yet. I was still tired, but I had this renewed sense of purpose. I was still covering up my cuts and agreed to talk to Zan and Putman, but was going to not go exactly into all of the details of what I'd done. I had looked at what happened over the weekend and my conversation with Adrian and the plan for prom as an act of clemency. I wanted to get Adrian out here. I wanted everyone to see her and for her friends to have that moment. I was not sure how long I'd be around after that. I did know that it was going to be a very difficult task to do, and as much as I wanted to be a surprise, I knew I needed some help. To me, in my naivete, the getting Adrian out here to me seemed easy. I can throw money at that problem. Sure. I'd sell a kidney if it meant getting her out here, but when she got here, where was she going to stay? What about a dress? Zan and I had already committed to working out a double date situation and a ride, so that was covered, but there were some other aspects to it that I didn't have an answer to right away. And then Corey skipped through the door of our third-hour biology class and sat down behind me. "Hi," she said, flashing her smile. "Hey, Corey," I responded. She got herself settled, and Wes and Putman hadn't arrived yet, and here was the first chance at being absolutely fucking horrible at keeping a secret reared its head. And I embraced it with gusto. "How was your weekend?" she asked. It was eventful," I responded. "Yours?" "It was fun." She plopped her notebook down as we waited for the bell to ring. "Why was yours eventful?" Well, I found a prom date." "You did?" she exclaimed. I nodded. "But there's just some things I have to work out." "Oh? Who is it? Do I know her?" "Well, yeah." Ooh, are you dating? She asked. No. Okay, wait, who is it? Corey, I need you to keep a secret. Corey leaned in. Now I'd caught her interest. Promise. I asked Adrian if she would come back and be my date for prom. Oh my god! She exclaimed and then quickly clasped her hands around her mouth. Wait, for real? Yeah, I said, and I smiled as I said it. I'm trying to keep it a secret from everyone, though. I really want to be able to get her out here and for everyone to see her. And she gets to see everyone. So you can't let anyone know. I promise. Oh, wow. Now, Xandar knows because I called her from work and we were talking about prom. I'm going to fly her out, but I'm working on stuff and I need to figure out where she's going to stay. With me, Corey countered. I mean it. I could totally talk to my parents and they'll be cool with it. Really. I registered a bit of surprise, but Corey smiled and immediately convinced me. Seriously? Yes, if you're going to get her out here, I'll make sure she can stay. I'd love to help. Corey, you have no idea how much this helps. Like, seriously. Matt, I think this will be great. I will talk to my parents tonight and call you and tell you what they say. But I'm pretty sure it's not even going to be a big deal. Corey, it is a big deal, I replied. Like, really. I'll take care of it and call you. Putman and Wes walked in, and Corey and I waved at them as they sat down. We went right into talking about our weekends, and Corey never let on about anything. We went through the class, and when I'd see Corey in the hall the rest of the day, I could sense she was excited. As school let out, I figured I'd follow up with her, in a few days, see if anything had changed. So I headed home. It didn't take long for my phone to ring, and I picked it up. Hello? I asked. Matt? It was Corey. Yeah? My parents said it was fine. Adrian can stay with me. Oh, holy shit, that was quick. I know, Corey exclaimed. So what else do we need to do? I've got to figure out flight information. I don't know what Adrian might be planning for dress shopping or whatever, but I want to make sure everything gets taken care of, I said. I also want to try and bring her to the school on that Friday so she can see everyone. I could bring her, yeah. She could see everybody in band, Corey responded. That was my thought. I'll buy prom tickets here in a few days, make sure she's on the list to be there, so I'll probably do that this week too at lunch. The reason I say this, Mountain Point had a policy for dances where, students not enrolled at the school needed to be approved. So I knew that was going to be an added step but it wouldn't be a problem. Ooh, I'll go with, Corey volunteered. Corey was going to be my partner in crime on this. I appreciate it and thank your parents for me, okay? I asked. You got it. See you tomorrow. Corey hung up, and I put my phone back on my desk. I had a notebook out and started to write out everything I was going to need to do and consider for prom. I logged online and immediately began looking up flight information. I felt even more motivated. Zan had helped start the idea, and seeing Corey's excitement meant a lot, because I felt like so many people would be so happy to see Adrian. I knew it was going to take some work, but I could still hear the voice in my back of my head urging me on. I'll get everything to work out. I needed to fall and come back stronger. I needed to crawl to find my way. That same week, it felt like there was a lot to get done and a lot to plan for. The following week was choir tour, again a trip to California, and this would be followed by pops, auditions, rehearsals. Choir council was still working on planning the end of the year banquet. Graduation was around the corner, and prom was May 11th. It was weird to think I was roughly 6 weeks from the end of the year as Corey and I were pushing forward with all of our plans for prom. I'd already gotten the guest pass for Adrian, and we'd planned on a phone call that week to go over where things were. We still needed to figure out where would be the best place for her to fly out from. While I was curious to know if she'd picked a dress, I knew I had to do shopping as well, and still had to figure out the whole, bringing her to school thing. While externally I was confident that this was going to work, there was a part of me that really, really hoped I could pull this off for everyone. I was still struggling, but with all the momentum on this project, I hadn't been paying much attention to anything else either. March 27th. I was in my townhouse after school by myself. Sarah was out with her boyfriend, and my parents were still working when there was a knock at the door. I walked up to the door, turned the lock, and opened it. And as I did, I froze. "Hey, Matt," Meg said, standing on the other side of the door. Hi?" I responded. There was a bit of an uncomfortable pause. "Do you have time to talk?" she asked. Oh, oh yeah," I said. Do you want to come in?" "Actually, I was wondering if you'd like to go get something to eat," she asked in response. "Sure, let me leave a note, grab my stuff. Just come on in." Meg stepped in, and I closed the door. I put my shoes on, grabbed my wallet and keys, wrote a quick note for my parents. I opened the door for Meg, and we stepped out, and she parked on the curb, and we got to her car. "Is everything okay?" I asked. Meg nodded and started the car. "I just want us to have a chance to talk." She drove us over to Fuddruckers, and I arched an eyebrow. She parked, and we got out, walked up to the restaurant. I opened the door for her. We ordered our food, got our drinks, and then as we sat down, I looked at her from across the table. Meg, what's going on?" I asked. She paused, and I waited, a bit nervously. I was trying to remain calm, but I felt like my brain and heart were on the defensive. "I'm sorry about how things have been with us," she began. "When I said that I didn't want to be your friend, that wasn't fair to you, and how I did it, and just..." She trailed off for a second, and I leaned back in my seat. I wasn't ready for this." "Well, okay," I said. I know why I felt that way at the time. I thought it was the best thing. For me and Cody, for you and me. I didn't want there to be confusion between us or anything like that, she continued. But I went about it the wrong way. And I've said some things that I didn't exactly mean. I need you to know, when we were together, I loved you, okay? Part of me always will. I never meant to hurt you. And I'm sorry if I did, Matt. I'm really sorry. I sat, listening, my brain catching up to this conversation. "I do not want us to end our senior year without being friends," she said. "I know you never stopped being my friend, and I don't think I ever stopped being yours, really. And I've missed you. I've seen you in the hall. I know you've been doing your best to honor what I said, and I know it hasn't been easy. But I've missed you, and Cody knows I've missed talking to you and laughing with you, and we were talking about it, and I said I wanted to reach out, and I wasn't sure what would happen, and he said I had to try. So today, I was finally ready, and now here we are, and..." She trailed off again and picked at her food for a minute. "I'd love for us to be friends," I said, "and you're right. I never stopped being yours, ever." "I know," she nodded. "I'm gonna be honest," I began, working my brain to choose my words as best as I could and not fucking blow this. "I was hurt. I do still love you. Part of me always will, and I'll try to be understanding, but it's gonna take me some time. But I don't want to not be around you, and I'd like to get to try and know Cody. I just need to do it at my own pace." "I get it, I do," she replied. More silence. "You think we'll be okay?" I asked. My turn to pick at the food. "I think we're going to get there," Meg responded. She smiled and reached across the table, and she squeezed my hand. "I really do." I nodded, and I felt weight lift off of my heart. We continued eating, catching up, and laughing. We finished our food and headed out. We got back into her car, and we drove back to my place where Meg parked in the side parking lot. We kept talking as tension increasingly just continued to break away. "So tell me something new," she said. I laughed. I have a date to prom?" "Wait, what?" Meg exclaimed. "Who?" "I can't tell you," I said. "It's a surprise." "Oh, that's not fair," she said, but she said it with a smile. Are you kidding? I'm horrible at surprises, but this is important, I replied. Okay, okay, I won't pry. But, okay, but maybe you could help, I relented. Meg turned her body and leaned up against the car window. What? How? You can't say anything, I said. Yeah, now tell me, she countered. I asked Adrian to prom and she said yes, so I'm going to fly her out. Meg's face warmed with a smile. Of course you asked her. I raised my eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Oh, come on, Matt, it's so you. And it's not like you ever hid that you had a crush on her, she nudged me. But you're serious, aren't you? I nodded. Xandar and Corey know. Xandar has a date. We're going to all go together. Corey and her parents are letting Adrian stay with them. I plan to try and cover everything that I can. I just need to get her out here. Of course I'll help, Meg said matter-of-factly. I'll talk to my mom. If we can't get her a buddy pass, we'll at least find some sort of a discount. I'll look up stuff tonight. Really? I asked. Yeah, Meg responded. Matt, this is great. I know, it's going to be, but you're it. You're the last person I'm telling, and I'm serious, I replied. No, I get it, she said, and after a pause, she nudged me again. What else do you need to do? I'm buying prom tickets this week. I've already got her visitor pass. I need to talk to whoever about letting her be here on Friday before prom. I want her to be able to come to school, see everybody. I'd like to see her come to Pop's concert too. Matt, that's wonderful, Meg responded. I'll help any way I can. Thanks for coming over, Meg, I said. Really? She nodded. Yeah, I'm glad I did. I got out of the car and leaned in. Good night, Meg. I started toward the sidewalk, and I heard the car door open. Matt, Meg called out, and I turned. She stood up out of her car, took a few steps forward, and gave me a hug. I hugged her back. I really missed you. I missed you too, I responded. I'll see you tomorrow? Lunch? I nodded. Yeah. She got back in her car and started it, reversing out of the spot and headed out of the parking lot, waving. I got back into the apartment, said hi to my parents, and headed up to my room. As I did, I just felt good, and as I sat down to write. The next day, I got to school, and Meg waved at me in between Acapella and Shantae. Putman and Zan noticed, and as we walked, I filled them in with what happened the night before. They felt relieved too. Sitting in bio, deliveries were being made of little pride notes that student council had promoted a few weeks earlier. You could fill them out to be sent to people with messages, and they were delivered to the teachers to hand out. It was just a way of spreading some positivity, and Mr. Quick walked up to me and handed me 2. I looked at him and instantly recognized the handwriting. I read the first one. Matt, I know we've had our problems, but thanks for sticking with me and making me feel important. All my love, Meg. Then I opened the second one. Matt, I am sorry for not always being as good of a friend as you make me out to be. I really do care about you. You give me strength. All my love, Meg. My hand trembled as I read it, knowing these were written a few weeks ago. Putman gave me a brotherly smile, and Corey squeezed my shoulder. And there was that voice again. Everything's gonna be okay. I didn't cut that night either. You know, the Queen of Hearts is always your best bet. Are you free after school? Emily asked me at the end of creative writing that Friday, March 29th. Yeah, I said. You mentioned you wanted to do something for Pops, and I was thinking of what we could do, she said. You said you have stuff on karaoke? I nodded. I do. Great. I think we should look at them first. I'll be over for a little while after school. Okay? I answered with another nod as Emily gave me one of her warm smiles and was off down the hall. I couldn't contain a smile of my own either, and made it through the rest of the day, explaining to Putman and Zan that I would have them over the next day, explain what was going on, but that I needed the afternoon. We all agreed to war games and burgers the next day. Zan and I were able to have that day off, and I was on my way home. I threw my backpack into my room and started going through my collection, pulling out stacks of karaoke CDs I had used for Pop's Ideas and my Windows concerts. I found the ones that had an assortment of 80s songs, classic rock staples, a few compilations of REO, Journey, Rod Stewart, Foreigner, and others. I had set a stack off to the side when I heard a knock on the door below, and I made my way down. Opening the door, Emily stood on the other side, and we exchanged highs as she came in. We got some drinks and headed up the stairs. She laid her backpack down on the floor next to my closet and kicked off her shoes. "What are you thinking?" I asked, sitting at the desk. "What if we just hit play, sang together, and go from there?" she responded, sitting across from me on the edge of my bed. "Sounds perfect." I slid a CD in and hit play. We worked on several songs over the next few hours. We tackled Right Here Waiting again. We followed up with Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now. We went through the 80s compilations, followed by some Jackson Browne, then Tom Petty, when she found another CD and handed it to me. "This one will go from just the beginning," she said with a smile. I put in the Eagles CD and we immediately began singing Hotel California. That led into Take It Easy. We followed it up with Tequila Sunrise, but knew that had little to no chance of getting in. We sang Lion Eyes and The Long Run. "Take It to the Limit is next," she said. That one sounded good. But when Peaceful Easy Feeling played, we found it. The first run through sounded good, but we played it a few more times, each time playing with it, how it would sound, and how we would sing it together. We tried different things, and on another go-around, I'd sing the first 2 lines of a verse, then she'd do the second set, and we'd sing the chorus together. When we came to the third verse, we sang it together in harmony. As the last run-through of the chorus came about, she sat on the edge of my bed as I sat in the chair, and our voices matched perfectly. As the song ended, we knew. "That's it, we've got to do that one," she said. "Yep, that's the winner," I replied. We were happy to find our song as she looked at the CD case and asked me to skip a few tracks ahead. She had a song she wanted to sing. I obliged. That dork, still living inside of me, never to be one to ignore a royal decree. As the opening to Desperado played and Emily sang the first note, everything stopped. It's been no secret that I could and would listen to Emily sing anything. But this was different. This wasn't her in choir. This wasn't her and Kate or a little bit of flash dance at Pops. This wasn't Love Shack or Rudolph or us singing along to Mystery Science Theater 3000. This was her sitting on the edge of my bed with all soul and heart and just absolutely beauty of talent and voice. As she continued, I'd add in some background vocals, soft oohs where the song had them. In the build-up to the final verse, she held the note of away right into the next Desperado, why don't you come to your senses, and flowed through the song perfectly. When she got to the end, whatever force out there in the universe that had my attention, the music gods, the Kid Cage voice in my head, whatever, just said, "Listen, this is important." And she sang, "It may be raining, but there's a rainbow above you. You better let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late." She held out the late at the end of the songs, and I had sang softly the "Let Somebody Love You" background vocal. The song ended, and the CD stopped, and time started again. That was beautiful, was all I could say, and it didn't do it justice. "Thanks," she smiled. Her boyfriend showed up a few minutes later to pick her up, and we walked downstairs. So we've got our song for Pops? She asked. Yeah, I'll sign us up, I said, still coming back to reality. Okay, perfect. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? Yeah, tomorrow. She hugged me goodbye and walked out the door. I closed the door and walked back upstairs. In a moment, I try that again. She hugged me goodbye and walked out the door. I closed the door and walked back upstairs. I don't know if she knows what she did. To her, it could have just been her singing a song she loved in a moment, and I just happened to be there. How it landed, though, was just the song I needed. The lyrics, the person, the moment, everything. Any feelings I had negatively about where I stood with any of my friends, that lingering doubt, self-hatred, the voice in my head that had just condemned me a week before, was gone. It had lost. My heart, in that moment, took that song as the direct shot of salvation it needed. That's how powerful it was. That memory of Emily singing that song became sacred to me. I came out of the dark. I've never forgotten it. By answering the phone, knocking on a door, and singing a song, Adrian, Meg, and Emily all had a part in what saved my life. I didn't cut that night. I've never cut since. So if you want to go, let me go along. I never walked that road alone. The weekend before choir tour, I sat down with Xandar and Putman. I'd promised I would talk to them, but did not want to go into all of the details of March 22nd. So I would tell them what I felt comfortable with, that I'd struggled with for months, and I planned for everything that would come my way. We sat in my room, I turned on some music for some cover over what we were talking about so my parents wouldn't overhear, and we closed the door a bit. Okay, I need to lead with, this is all over and behind me, I began, and it's important to me that you hear me telling you that this is over. They both nodded. In November, I started to cut myself nightly. I just wasn't in a great spot, and everything felt like it was crashing around me, and I couldn't really control anything. After Meg's talk with you, Putman asked. I nodded. Yes, but this isn't her fault. Of course. Xandar nodded honestly. It's all my fault. Period. I said, hiding it from everyone or trying to brush it off as something else, the lying about it. It's all on me. You said nightly? Zan asked. Yeah. I mostly used the knife in the drawer there. I pulled out the knife and put it on my desk. What do you want to know? I asked. Why didn't you come to us? Putman asked. We're your brothers. I know, I sighed. And I know this is going to be a bullshit answer, but in my brain, I was trying to protect you. That does sound like bullshit, Putman responded. We're always here for you, Zan replied. I know, but in my mindset, I couldn't see it, I said. I was struggling with the Meg thing. I was feeling like Emily and Kate and Crystal and Blaine, everyone just didn't have use for me. I know now it wasn't real, but it's just where I was. And you guys came over almost every day to game, and I love you guys for it. I do. It's just sooner or later, it got later in the night, it got dark, and I got into my own brain. And this, that gave me a release. It gave me control. Putman grabbed the knife and looked at it and pulled out the assorted blades. When he came to the serrated one, he shook his head. This one too? He asked. And I nodded. Fuck, bro. Zan leaned on the wall. You're done now? I am, promise, I said. I mean it. What happened? What changed? Putman asked. A few things. Two of which were Meg coming over and her and I talking, and then Emily and I hung out yesterday, I replied. And seriously, you guys. Our wargaming, our wrestling talks, you guys being here. We figured something was up, Putman admitted. Now it was Xandar's turn. But if you ever think about thinking it's getting this bad again, you get us. You guys are my first call, I promise, I responded. We're family. Are you going to tell the mom and the dad? Putman asked. No. I don't need to give anyone an idea that I'm being crazy, and I don't want to freak them out. Maybe someday, but not now, I said. They nodded. Blaine? Xandar asked. I will. Soon, I responded. There was silence as I put the knife back in the drawer. I know how it sounds. I know. But I tried everything else. I tried writing and music and painting and gaming, but just, it wasn't working. Even if... And this did. Even if it was bad. And it was the wrong choice. I should have said something, talked to you guys, even if it meant I have to just ask you to keep it with the three of us. I know it sounds hypocritical, but if you ever guys get to that point, you have to talk to somebody. We talk to each other even if we know we may not be able to stop it right away, okay? It does sound hypocritical, but I get it, Putman said. Zan added, we've always got you. And I've got you guys, I responded, and deep down I don't think I doubted that. Good, Zan said. Like you said, we're family. We started getting out the wargame stuff, and Putman changed the music to some AC/DC, and we got to work on planning a couple of wargame fights, and as we did, I reminded myself there's the family you're born into and the family you choose. And I chose an awesome family. I have some of the best friends in the world. I have some of the best family in the world. And when I found the stuff that I wrote and my journal entries and what I was going through, it was a slap in the face for me to realize that from 1 week of where I was in my lowest, the very following week, everything that ever needed to come together did. Now, granted, in a perfect world, I would have wished I would have listened to common sense, or not seen things through a haze, but that's mental health. That's depression. That's a whole litany of things. But I said this video was going to be better, and it hopefully was, because it was the best for me. And in a senior year that did not start out great, it sure as hell ends pretty great. And we're going to keep going into that next video, because we've got a prom to get to. But until then, be good to yourself and keep on rolling.